What do these pilots, these two planes, and this happy baby all have in common? Stay tuned and we'll have the answers. There are plenty of YouTube channels with great modelers who have great production skills. This is not one of them. Welcome to Cable's Creations. Aloha! This is Cable with a slightly different intro today. As I've said before, I like to build planes that I have somewhat of a connection to. This one's kind of loose, but I think you'll see it in just a moment. In case you didn't recognize these two, these are Welch and Taylor, sometimes referred to as the hungover heroes of Pearl Harbor. On the night of December 6th and into the early morning hours of December 7th, they had been at an all-night party and card game. They were woken by the sounds of explosions, and they were at Wheeler Field and called up to a remote airstrip to where their planes were, to call to have those gassed up and warmed up for them when they would get there. That's been shown in the movies Pearl Harbor and Tora Tora Tora. These were their planes. That was Welch's, and that one was Taylor's. An interesting thing is, yes, they originally took off from a remote airfield, but later on they landed at, well, actually they took off unmolested from the remote airfield, which apparently the Japanese didn't even know about. But when they ran out of ammo, they landed at Wheeler Field, reloaded, and took off again. And it was in the second takeoff that they took some fire. Taylor was even injured in that second takeoff. Also interesting is that they were both awarded the second highest medal. Some had recommended them for the Medal of Honor, but their commanding officer blocked it because they took off without permission. And so here's my personal connection. That's a 2.5-month-old Cable right there. I had seen these pictures forever, and I remembered Mom and Dad mentioning Haleiwa, and unfortunately I couldn't confirm it with them because they've both passed on, but there it is, labeled in the photo album saying Haleiwa Beach Park. The airfield was long abandoned by the late 60s when this picture was taken. And just to have a map of Oahu, many of these places you may have heard of before. Opana radar site. That is where the brand new radar installation was, where they picked up the upcoming Japanese, but they were told it was just a flight of B-17s. Also, Iwa Field, that was one of the places attacked. And all of that is Pearl Harbor, and Ford Island, right there, that's where Battleship Row was. And Hickam Field, and it's not on the map, but like the very north part of Fort Shafter is Tripler Army Hospital. That's important to me because that's where I was born. And also, probably familiar with history from Schofield Barracks and Wheeler Field. And just right across what is now the Kamehameha Highway is the town of Wahiawa, and that's where we lived. Finally, here's Haleiwa Field. Now, you may be a little bit familiar with Haleiwa Field from the movies Pearl Harbor and Tora Tora Tora. Well, quite interesting. That was Wheeler Field. It was essentially right on the beach. Here's another photo of it. So there you've got beach and all that grassy area that looks a little bit torn up. That's Wheeler Field. Or not Wheeler, that's Haleiwa Field. And so, not certain, but I think like this area is what is now Haleiwa Beach Park. Now, I kind of get it with Tora 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 that they didn't have it on a beach, but because they didn't have CGI back then, and they couldn't find a large enough area to do, takeoff and landings on North Shore beach areas. But the Pearl Harbor movie, well, we had CGI by then, so I think it would have been so much neater to have, the Pacific Ocean and the beach right there. Just another little beef with that movie. This is the Airfix kit that portrays actually portrays a survivor of Pearl Harbor. That particular aircraft, 284, apparently was underneath one of the buildings that collapsed and was later restored, and it's in a museum now. Really not much of one for unboxings, because that just tells you what the plastic pieces look like, but they tell you nothing about how they go together. However, this looks like a fairly simple, whopping total of 3 pages of instructions. What do we have here? 2 gray sprues and 1 clear sprue. Also, although the numbers may not be quite the right sized, but I'm going to try to use some of these decals with numbers to do the 155. Part of why I wanted to do 155 is that was Taylor's airplane, and he was born in Enid, Oklahoma, which is pretty close to the location of Yankee Station. Well, this may be all I get out. Hey, it's Friday now, and I've been sick most of the week. This is the longest I've been out of bed since Tuesday. I don't know if that's my chemo building up and I need to get the dose reduced or just what. But next time I'm back at Yankee Station, quite likely going to be able to knock this one out in like a week. And for those of you watching and subscribing, mahalo.